my God. You've made me cry already and we haven't even started. Hi. I can't really see you because I've got these lights, but I can feel you. Before I get started, I would also like to acknowledge the First Nations custodians of this country, the Gadigal Eora, but also the First Nations custodians of all of this country, all of the country on which we sing and dance and play and love, and First Nations people all over the world, because in my experience, whenever I speak with First Nations people, I get to encounter the wisdom that is actually, that has the intelligence to solve what's going on in our times. And our First Nations brothers and sisters keep turning up over and over and over and over to share their wisdom and their culture and their knowledge. And it can often, I think, feel like trying to recite poetry in a hurricane. And so I just want to acknowledge, not as something just trite from my deepest bones, my gratitude to First Nations people and the wisdom they hold and the generosity of spirit that sees them turning up over and over again, even when it feels like people aren't listening. So thank you. If that's you, thank you. And hi. Thanks for coming. Thank you for showing up. Thanks for showing up here. Are there any men in the room? Yeah, hi. Thank you. Thank you for also showing up. Like, we need you. We definitely need you. We really need you at the moment. The men who are in the room now, we really fucking need you. Now, I was at the feminist roast last night. Was anyone at that? Oh my God, how awesome was that? Talk about fierce, ferocious, unflinching honesty. And it really made me sort of like feel into what I want to bring to this, to you now. And I'm going to take you for a little wander through all sorts of fabulous stories, but there's also like a deeper and meatier, there's the bones of what I want to offer, which are, these roots go deep. So let's go on a bit of an adventure, hey? Did anyone here not watch Alone Australia? It's all right, you can own up. I wouldn't have either. If I wasn't in the fucking thing, I would not have watched it. Ew, survival shows, they're always fake and it's full of these knuckle-dragging meatheads who are just like fighting nature. Or reality shows, which are the opposite of reality. There's no way I would have watched anything that looked like that. But guess what? If you saw it, Alone Australia is the opposite of that, because it was actually real, which is why it isn't called reality show but a docuseries. And and it's not fake. It is not fake. There's no film crews. There's no nothing. There's just a whole bunch of humans. So if you haven't watched Alone, just to give you some context about why I'm probably up here, like, who is this chick anyway? Hi. There was this TV show called Alone Australia, which SBS and ITV put on. And the basic premise is this: 10 Australians of dubious sanity and probably a severe level of overconfidence in their survival abilities get dropped into an absolute paradise of survival, with snow-capped mountains and clear crystal waters, with the fish like waving their way through. Now, it was nothing like that. It was mud. It was mud, and it was winter in southwestern Tasmania, Lutruwita, Palawa country. And 10 Aussies got dropped into the middle of this godforsaken hellhole to survive as long as possible, completely solo. No camera crews, no producers, none of that. Just 10 items, and then some 70 kilos of camera gear to lug around. Yeah, that's fun too, let me tell you. In mud, to survive as long as possible, and the last person standing wins. Now, there's only 4 ways that you can leave alone. The first one is everybody on the show has a satellite tracking device, and it's got a big red button on it. And if you are in imminent danger of dying, you press the red button and hope like hell the cavalry gets there in time before you expire. Now, considering the cavalry's about an hour away, you better hope that it's like, not too dire. The second way that you can leave is you call up on a satellite phone and you say, this is the most rubbish idea I've ever had in my life. I need a hot shower, I need a coffee, I need a shardy, I need a joint, I need a root, I need something. Get me the fuck out of this place right now. And then up comes the cavalry and they chuck you in the boat and you go, yeah. The third way that you can leave alone is that these medics turn up and they're covered in like masks and all you can see is eyeballs, and then they weigh you, they don't talk to you at all because that's contact with the outside world. And then they can say, you are at danger of organ failure, so you're out. So they pull you out. And the fourth way that you can leave the alone experiment out there in the wilderness, starving, is that someone you love jumps out from behind a bush and goes, surprise, you're the last person standing. And after 67 days of dancing barefoot in the moss, singing to the fish, making friends with a platypus, jumping on a wallaby and killing it with a rock and eating it for a month and generally making a right idiot of myself, that was me. I was the first winner of Alone Australia and only the second woman ever in the 10-year franchise to win globally. And the first woman who won was only a couple of months before me, and here's something else that's really interesting. There was a woman in the States who won just after me, but because the Swedish woman and I weren't from America, she says that she's the first woman to win. But hey, I give it to her, whatever. I mean, it really isn't about it. Anyway, so I won this thing. Okay, so, and then the interesting thing that I always say, the interesting thing isn't that I won, it's how I won. But actually, that's not quite true, because it is interesting that I won. Because as you can tell, I'm not a man. And the premise of these shows is usually suffering and man versus wild survival. You know the one? It's day 753. Is Gina going to get eaten by a drop bear? It's the premise that nature is to be beaten and dominated and figured out and micromanaged, that it's dangerous and it's trying to eat you or kill you, and the only way is to knuckle through and fight nature and somehow dominate it and beat it. And is this sounding familiar in the world? And that's the premise that we normally see on these shows because they're programmed by men. So we don't ever really get to see anything else. So that's what we are sort of like programmed to expect. And I didn't do that. If you watched it, you would know. The interesting thing is, because I went in with a very different experience, with a different attitude. I went in wanting to show that there's a way to be at home in the wild, to be part of nature rather than apart from nature, to be dancing with the interconnected web of life. And I wanted to show that it's possible to listen to the wisdom in my DNA and let nature teach me how to be by listening, by being in receptivity. And it worked. Now, what happened after I won, and this was the interesting thing, 5.5 million plays, 5.5 million views for SBS. This is a revelation for SBS. SBS very happy. SBS now has a franchise. And this year's going to be awesome. Anyway, so what happened, and it was interesting, is that I say that there was the jigsaw puzzle-shaped hole in the zeitgeist, and nobody knew it was there until I told my story. Nobody knew it was there until I fitted into it. And it's not about me. It's about the story. And the story is one of connection. But because we'd never seen it, we didn't know that there were all these people resonating with this story. And then I did my thing, and suddenly, whoom, there's a conversation happening all over Australia. Water coolers, gyms, around dining tables, everywhere. And it's a story about connection. And that zeitgeist ringing is amazing because it hasn't stopped, and that conversation about connection is still going. And it's a conversation about connection that most people with a uterus understand, which is why the zeitgeist rang. and why it was such a surprise, because we'd never really seen a white woman do this. I get stopped 2 to 10 times a day, usually by women, going, thank you. Thank you for showing what I know in my bones. Thank you for showing the way that I connect. Like I said, it's not about me. It's about the way that we connect in our gardens and with our children and with our friends, where we listen, when we're in receptivity. And that ringing of the zeitgeist hasn't stopped. So this is why I keep getting invited up to these stages. And thank you for having me, and thank you for, for being here and ringing with that story. Now, when I was thinking about what I wanted to talk to you all about today, I want to take the lessons that I learned, not just out on alone, but also in my life. Now, I had a daughter, and she died when she was 3. And this year she would be 14. She'd actually be turning 15, actually, this year. And I thought about what would I be wanting to share with my daughter about the world that we are in right now? What would I be wanting to give to her? What tools would I want to give? And what I would be wanting to give to her are tools for leadership. And leadership is a product of the time that it's in. What we need from our leaders is a product of the times we are in. And we are in very strange and interesting times. So I'm going to offer some stepping stones to the future leaders, but also to all of us, because we are all leaders in our own way. All right. So why did I win alone? So the way I won alone was because I have an understanding of what it means to be wild. And I'm not talking about like crazy, like smearing your body with peanut butter and going down the road. And I think it's really interesting that when we say wild, it's somehow now become part of, it's been associated with crazy. Like, why is wild crazy? When we think about a wild animal has internal authority. It doesn't outsource its authority. It sleeps when it's tired, it eats when it's hungry, takes shelter when there's a storm. And a wild animal can only survive by being in deep, persistent, real and permanent connection with its environment and with its own pack. And if it doesn't have that connection, it dies. Like, that's wild connection. And encoded in our DNA is that same wildness. Humans have been Homo sapiens for 350,000 years, give or take. For 340,000 of those years, we were hunter-gatherers, which means we lived in small bands, moving around on the landscape, getting our needs met from the landscape, in deep and persistent relationship and connection in 5 ways. Connection with ourselves, with each other, with our villages or our communities or our families, with nature, and with some kind of spiritual life. And we had tools and social technologies and ceremonies and rituals and practices to promote that kind of connection, so that we looked after each other no matter what, and we took care of our world, and our world took care of us. 340,000 years. And then about 10,000 years ago, someone had a really great idea. Our climate had become rather nice. It's like, why are we going out to risk our lives hunting on the landscape? When we were through here last year, Joe chucked a rotten pumpkin out, and look, now we're back again and there's 50 pumpkins. Why are we going out to hunt cave bears? We can eat pumpkins, this is awesome. Let's grow stuff. So we did, we grew stuff. And for those of us who are not First Nations, this was the beginning of the disconnect. Our strategies of connection now started to waver, because once we have stored calories, we have riches. I put on 19 kilos to go out on alone. I put on proper fat, because fat is crack when it comes to survival. Sadly, in our culture it isn't, but anyway. For survival it is. To have calories means that I can rest. I don't have to risk my life. To be able to have calories is riches. So once I can store calories in all my pumpkins, now I'm rich. But I need to look after them. I need to protect them. So I need walls. I need to be able to store them. I can't roam across the landscape because I've got too many pumpkins to protect. Now we start to see the social order change to be able to have productivity. First Nations people still kept their connection and their, and their ceremonies and their rituals of connection with the land, but those of us who don't have that heritage, generally it didn't go that way. And we started to make some decisions that led us to the Industrial Revolution. And we know how that went. Not so great in terms of connection. Productivity is the god, and human needs and connection are the sacrifice at its altar. But we had staff, we had lots of stuff, and we kept making decisions as a species, bit by bit, until we ended up where we are now, where our wounds of connection are so far along we don't even know what we've lost. But we yearn for that wildness. We yearn for it with our cells and our bones. Like an animal that is born in a zoo yearns for the wilderness without ever having seen it. And we all feel it, don't we? We do. It's like, I know there's more. I know there's another way to be. Why is adulting so hard? Why am I struggling so much? It's because we are not designed to be in a world of disconnection. We are designed to be in a world of connection. That is how we were grown. So if 350,000 years is the length of my arm, then to my fingers, is 10,000 years. That's when we broke ground. And the Industrial Revolution is my fingernail. Our true disconnection is only a fingernail deep. And the wisdom that's in our DNA and our bones is of connection. And my experience is once we give ourselves the opportunity to remember it, we do. Our invisible roots spread out. We find our way to connection. And when we do that, we start to stitch ourselves back into a life that works. Does this make sense? Yeah? Great. Can't really see you, so I'm like, oh, there you are. Hello. Everything that I can see that's broken in the world, I can track to a wound of connection. But here's an amazing thing. In nature, every force has its opposite. Whenever there is a force in nature, there is a revolution that's rising up underneath. Nature is always experimenting. It's always like pushing up against its boundaries. In everything in nature, there is an antidote. And so when we're looking at the patriarchy and when we're looking at late-stage capitalism, we are the fucking antidote. We are the antidote, and it's not going to happen if we think like men. It's not going to happen if we think like men. So we end up in these rooms and we end up in these spaces, and part of what I want to share, the wisdom that I have learned out there in the wilderness, is the wisdom of connection, which is the wisdom that we hold in our uteruses and our ovaries and the receptivity that we have. Whether we're biologically female, whatever it is, like the receptive function is one of connection. So I just want to share a few little points, little stepping stones that for me are tools. And if they work for you, great. And if they don't, chuck them out. I don't care. But if it does, then it's like it's something in your toolkit. So when I was out there starving and freezing and doing all the things in the wilderness, I realised something quite profound, and that is that our instinctive voice is actually the smartest part of us. Our instinctive voice is the smartest part of us. And we live in a culture that tells us, especially women, to override our instincts. We get told that they're not trustworthy. No, it's because they're powerful. So what are instincts? Have you ever been out minding your own business, doing your own thing, and all of a sudden your head turns like it's on a swivel and there's someone looking at you? Ever had that experience? Like, how do we know? What is it? What part of us knows? Have you ever been walking down a street and you're like, got my keys in my hand. I'm just going to cross the road right now. Don't know why. And sure enough, 200 metres down the road, there's a funny little shadowy shape, and it's like, there's a part of me that knew. Have you ever made a life choice where everyone you know was going, no, don't do it. And you're like, no, oh, but he's fabulous. Oh, but he's the one. Or that job is just the best job. Oh my God, my boss sees me. And your friends are going, no, they don't. No, this is disaster. You're like, no, but I want it so much. It sounds so great. And you you hurl yourself down this particular life path, and then one day you look around and go, holy crap, how did I get here? Yeah? Anyone had that? Yeah? Now, was there a little voice that you can look back and go, ah, shit, I knew? Anyone had that? A little quiet voice. Fuck it, I knew, they were right, I knew, but I didn't want to know, la, 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 la. That voice is our instincts. Now, I'm speaking from experience here. I fell in love with a con man. Let me tell you, as a life choice, I don't recommend it. So our instinctive voice is designed from the part of us that is wild to survive. Our instincts are designed to get our needs met and to alert us to danger, to keep us out of danger and get our needs met. But because we are in a world where the mind is king and hearts are overridden, people say, follow your heart, you'll be happy. No. Follow your heart, you're going to have skinned knees and bruised elbows, because hearts are not born wise. But the way hearts learn is we make our choices and then we learn from them and we feed it in, and now it becomes part of our instinctive wisdom, doesn't it? And so we start to be able to move through life with some wisdom. And our minds provide structure. It's fantastic. But minds are like a kelpie, aren't they? They need a job. And if you don't give them a job, they're like, where's the stick? Where's the stick? Where's the stick? Where's the ball? Where's the ball? Where's the ball? Where's the ball? Usually at 2 o'clock in the morning. So we need to give our minds a job. We need to have that emotional intelligence. But when we hold those two loosely, in the middle of us, we've got our instinctive wisdom, the part of us that is wild, the part of us that connects with our environment in the same way that animals do and our hunter-gatherer ancestors did, to pick up in non-cognitive ways all of the information that is going to keep us safe. And when we allow that to be, then the intuitive leap can arise. Now, we are in really strange times, and figuring our way out of it ain't going to work. There needs to be room in us for the creativity that we have in our ovaries and for that intuition which we have in our bones. When I was out on alone, I spent, like I said, put on 19 kilos. There's this hilarious moment, if you haven't seen it, a hilarious moment when I'm trying to sit up. And I can't, because I'm too fat. And I got to rock to get the momentum to sit up. But I put on all this weight so that I could spend the first couple of weeks making a shelter and making a house, because I need a house to feel safe and secure in myself. And I did that. I made a house, and because I'm a good hippie, every time I went out to harvest a little tree, I'd go, do you want to be part of my house? Like literally 300 saplings, I asked every single one. And then I'd listen. Now, I don't know if it said yes or I just farted. Like, really, I got no idea. But the point is the respect of asking. I'm like, okay, I asked, okay, and then, no. So I made my shelter, and it was fabulous. I made this little nest in this house. And then after about 3 weeks, I was like, shit, I'm getting pretty skinny. They're going to come and take me away. I'm going to need some food. And again, like a good hippie, I went out to the lake and I went, all right, Big Mama, I know you've got me here to tell a story, and I can't tell it if I'm not here, so I'm going to need some food. I don't know how this is going to happen, but please, I'm going to need some fish. Doink, 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 doink. Fish, lots of fish. Now, I didn't think about catching fish. When I was doing my 3 weeks of my shelter building, my body, my instinctive awareness took in the information around me, so when it was time for me for that need to meet reality, I just knew where to put the hook and the line. And fish, well, I just thought like a fish, and there they were. And then later on, they weren't very big fish. If you've ever watched Alone in the States, they're giant bloody fish. Or even New Zealand, those bastards. bastards. They get monster fish. My fish were little teeny weeny things. And even with lots of fish, I was still getting pretty skinny and I didn't want to get tapped out. And I was like, shit. So at about the 30-day mark, I went up to the lake and again, like a good hippie, big mama, I know you've got me here to tell a story and I can't tell it if I'm not here. I'm going to need an animal. I don't know how to trap. I've got no bloody idea. I'm not an expert survivalist. So, you know, I'll just leave it to you. Can you just like sort me out with an animal? No, I did not trip over the wallaby when I had a pee. I did have a pee. But afterwards I went out that night and I sat on a log and I was just communing. Actually, I was putting off going back to bed because it was like sleeping on a bed of rocks. But anyway, I was sitting there and all of a sudden my body jumped. And I only figured out what happened when I landed on a wallaby. Like, oh, okay, we're doing this then, body. Great, okay. Yeah, there's a rock around here somewhere. It's dark, right? There's a rock around here somewhere. And I ate for a month and bawled my eyes out. Sorry, wallaby. Now, I'll just share that, you know, I used to have a dingo and I used to hunt with my dingo. So my body has jumped on quite a few animals and it knew what to do. But that instinctive awareness, subcognitively, took over to sort me out so I could survive. And the reason I'm standing in front of you right now is because that wallaby gave its life so that I could stay there and thrive. And it was my instinctive awareness that is the reason that I caught the wallaby. Our instincts are vital and powerful, and the more we listen to them, the stronger they get. So what I would offer to my no longer here daughter is to listen to our instincts, because that is where our wisdom is the strongest. The second thing that I would probably offer my long-lost daughter is the ability to acquiesce, to say yes to capital R reality. Not the reality that I think I deserve or is fair or I want or I should have, because life is not like that. To be able to see what capital R reality is in front of me and say yes to it. Because if we are not prepared to see what's in front of us, then all of our actions are interacting with a reality that doesn't exist, with a fantasy. And if we are going to find our way through these transition times, if we are going to find our way to a life that works, being able to interact with capital R reality is, in my view, vital. Like I said, if you don't agree with this, chuck it out. I'm not saying I'm right, but this is true for me. Now, this acquiescence doesn't mean that I have to like it. Doesn't mean I'm like, yay, this has happened. But it means that I have an ability to be with the discomfort of seeing what is in front of me, even when I don't like it, and responding that way. Now, I'm going to take us into a little bit of a sad thing, but we're coming out the other side. I lost my daughter when she was 3. She died in my arms of cancer. Now, when she was dying, every part of the mother that I am wanted to contract against that knowing, but I knew she was going to die. And I was like, no! My cells wanted to crawl off my bones. But a voice inside me, I don't know, was it highest? I don't even know. Some part of me, the wise part, maybe my instinctive self, said, is she a gift? I said, yeah. Is she the greatest gift of your life? Yes. So if she's the greatest gift of your life, then every single thing that comes from her is part of that gift, even this. And if you're going to say yes to the gift of her, you need to say yes to all of it, especially this. And something landed, the great ka-chunk, the aha. You know when you get the like, oh. I don't understand why or how, but I know that this is true. And if I'm going to say yes to the gift of her, this does not make sense to me now. But I know that I don't want to reject one tiny part of her. And so I said yes, I acquiesced. Doesn't mean I liked it, but I said, yes, my daughter is going to die. And I am here for that journey. I am not going to waste a single second of it. And what that meant was when it was time to let her go, I said yes to that as well. And when she flew away, I was like, okay. And I asked, what is grief asking of me? What is grief demanding of me? Because grief demands to be felt. And we live in a culture that has lost its rituals and its ceremonies and its conversations about grief. So we can be lost when we're in that. We can be lost when we're in that, in the dumpers of that. But I've learned that grief has an intelligence that we are designed to feel. Because grief is the flip side of the coin of love. It's the size of our love for that which we've lost or are losing. And so when we feel grief, what we are feeling is the size of our heart. And in that, if I can say yes to that feeling, if I can say yes to what that is demanding of me, it comes in waves. And in each wave, I teach myself better how to dance with it, how to be with it. Sometimes it's asking me to scream to the heavens. Sometimes it's asking me to go numb and watch Netflix or make love or go to the movies or a million different things. But whatever it's asking, if I can say, I don't have to like it, but I can say yes to the fact that this is what it's asking of me, every time I allow myself to feel that, I am bigger on the other side rather than less. I can honestly say that having my daughter is the greatest gift of my life and losing her, the second greatest. It's not a hippie thing. I truly, utterly in my bones know this. Because of the having and the losing of her, I am bigger, I am more compassionate, I'm more kind, I'm more real. I have more capacity to hold and laugh and be silly and not take myself seriously and find the wonder in every moment by saying yes, by saying yes. And so I offer this because our world, I'm finding it hard to say yes to what's going on in our world. And when I'm saying yes to it, I'm not agreeing with it, but I'm finding it hard to even accept that it's going on. And part of what's going on in our world brings grief to me. It brings huge grief to me. But I know that my body is designed to feel it. And I know that all of our bodies are designed to feel it because our size of our grief is the size of our love, and we all love, don't we? We all care for something. And so everything we love is going to go. Everything. And so it's like the griefs teach us how to be with that and dance with it so that we can be more in life, so that we can bring more of our vitality and our life force and our solving of challenges. And it's messy and it's real and it's gritty and it's painful. But it also breaks us open into life. And so I offer you this one. I know it kind of sucks, but I offer you this one to just sit with. I'm not saying you have to agree with it, but just maybe sit with it and see where you land with it. The ability to acquiesce to capital R reality. Because maybe in all of the fucked upness, there's also gifts. All right, moving right along. Thank you for going with me there. And can you feel the tenderness in the room right now? Can you feel how we are all, like, there is this palpable vulnerability? My experience is we need vulnerability for intimacy. We can't have intimacy without vulnerability. And if we're totally armoured up all the time, then we don't get that intimacy, and without intimacy, we don't feel connection. So thank you for allowing yourselves to be tender. So the next thing that I would offer to all of you in the room, and to my daughter, is the ability to say no. Can anyone here relate to these two words? Good girl. We live, a lot of us, my generation, I'm 55, right? I was brought up in a time when it was all about the good girl. And the good girl is designed to keep us compliant and obedient. And the good girl is designed to make sure that we look after everybody else's needs before our own. And the good girl is designed to make us think we don't even deserve to have fucking needs. What the actual fuck? How on earth are we going to look after everyone else if we can't look after our own needs? Like, it just doesn't work that way. And the good girl, which starts when we're little, and this is probably going to be uncomfortable, because, okay, let's go there. It's uncomfortable. Because we get taught and we then teach our daughters because that's what we've learned, and it's easier when they're good girls, right? It's like, just, you're such a good girl. Oh, thanks for being such a good girl for Mum. Oh. And as good girls, we put our own needs last and we look after everyone else's, and we think that we are responsible for the emotional state of other people, that other people's emotions are our responsibility. Anyone relate to that? Fuck that. Fuck that. No. We've taken this on. And do you know what the one word that is the little insidious fucker that does that to us? I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. What am I saying? See, there it is. I'm sorry. I am fucking not sorry. That's good girl right there. Oh, no, they might be a bit stretched. Fuck it. All right. Should. When I hear the word should, that is not my voice. Should is the voice of my culture, my parents, my grandparents, a billboard, a teacher, some fucking orange buffoon. And the fucking rat with his hand up his ass. And don't get me started about what's going on in this country either. So, should is telling me I'm not okay the way I am. Should is telling me I am not okay the way I am. I should be different. And what I'm feeling, oh, I shouldn't be feeling that. And when should comes in, it comes in with all the emotional blackmail, all the guilt, all of the shit that we've taken on from the time we were little when we're being good girls. So, when I hear the word should, I know that it's overriding a need. And no one else is responsible for me getting my needs met but me. No one is here to rescue me. I have to rescue myself. And so if I'm going to do that, I need to deprogram this should bollocks and find out what I need underneath. For example, what's the good girl? A good girl is, oh no, you take the last piece. Oh, no, I don't mind cleaning it up. That's fine. You just rest. Oh, I didn't need to come this time. Uh-huh. There's a need underneath. Take charge of yourselves, sisters. Let's just say it's the washing up. I should do the washing up. I'm sitting down. I've had a big day. The kids have been driving me nuts. The work's been fine. I've been doing the 10 billion things that that feminism tells me I can now do and have, and I'm just fucked. And I come home and it's like, oh my fucking God, I just want to watch crap on Netflix. I should do the washing up. What do I need? Oh, I need a bath. Have the fucking bath. The washing up can wait. The should can wait. What I do when should turns up and wants me to be a good girl in some way, not love the body I'm in. Should tells me that I'm 55, I should look like Demi fucking Moore. I should have a face that doesn't move. And hair that's like, still the colour of a 25-year-old. And I shouldn't have size bloody F boobs
Thank you, menopause. Here's the thing about menopause. The thing they don't tell you that you're going to lose is your fucking waist. What even is that? Whenever I hear the word should, I shrink it down to a teeny tiny little mosquito and I give it helium. You should do the washing. Have the bath. So the thing about the good girl is it tells us we can't say no. It tells us to override our own internal authority to make someone else feel better. For example, one of your friends comes over when you've got your kids there and she brings a present and she's like, you love her, you love this friend, but she's a bit needy. And that's fine, but she's a bit needy with your kids. And she's like, here, I brought you some colouring pens. And the kid's like, and you're like, oh, give Margaret a hug. And the kid's like, I don't want to. She's a bit weird. And you're like, oh, no, but you're going to hurt her feelings. Give her a hug. And Margaret's like, oh, darling, I love you so much. Now, we have just taught that girl to override her own internal authority about her body. Should. And I think it's really, for me, it's really important. And I know this is uncomfortable. Look, I did it with my daughter as well. Like, it's invisible. But to start to notice where we're teaching our girls that it's not okay to say no, and it's not okay to not be good girls. And so what happens is we get to be adults and we don't know how to say no. So I would like to right now give everyone a chance to say no. And practice, because if we can't practice, so you don't have to do it, you can go, fuck off, G. I teach these 5 rhythms. I'm a 5 rhythms dance meditation teacher, and it's basically like 3 hours of everyone just dancing how you feel rather than how you look. It's amazing. I love it. It's great. And one of the things, 5 rhythms dancer in the audience. One of the things that I say is 5 rhythms is about telling the truth. We practice telling the truth on the dance floor so that we can practice in life. And sometimes I'm DJing, right? I'm in the flow of it. And I'm like, shit, my track's running out. I've only got 3 minutes. Fuck, I've got to find the right one. And I put on a track and it's the wrong track. And everyone's in there. No. They're like, whoa, I'm doing this. And all of a sudden it's like, la-da-da-da-da. And they're like, oh, you cunt. I was in and you just pulled me out. It's like when you're having sex. It's like, nearly. What do you mean you just stopped? I was nearly there. Ugh. And so what I say to people is when they're on the dance floor, if I put on a track they don't like, they can come and do the fuck you dance. Instead of going, oh, this is great, they can come up to the DJ desk and go, fuck you. And I tell the story of a woman who's been coming for years. She doesn't come anymore, but... And I'd do this spiel, and every night for 3 hours... this would be her dance. She was probably about 70. And her dance was like this. Just around the dance floor for 3 hours. And I was like, what is she getting out of this? What is this doing for her? But she turned up and I'm like, okay, well, whatever your dance is, it's perfect. Round and round and round for 3 hours. And then one night I gave the fuck you thing. And she was dancing around for probably 2.5 of those 3 hours. And all of a sudden she comes up to the table and she goes, I never saw her again. So I don't know how long of her 65, 70 years she had been building up to the point where she finally went, fuck you. And it was safe for her to do so. I don't know how long you might have been building up to that, but I want to give you the opportunity right now to build up whatever your fuck you is and to practice it right now. So whatever that is, on 3, 2, 1. Does it feel good? Okay, so it doesn't all have to be fuck you, but it's fun to do. It can just be no. But it's really good to get the fuck you out, isn't it? To realise that there's a big, massive fuck you in there so that we can actually just say no. No. You know, be like this, think like this, behave like this. No. Doesn't have to have energy, doesn't have to anything, just no. My experience is, because I do have the boundaries and I do have the fuck you, is that when we don't apologise for our no, I would say yes, but it's just because I'm just like, yeah, no. As soon as we do that and apologise for ourselves, there's something to argue with. No, yes. But when we just say no, it's like, there's nothing to argue with. And my experience is the more I do this, people don't even think about it. They're just like, oh, okay. And I get to meet my own needs. Does this make sense? So let's just have a nice, clear no on 3, 2, 1. No. You are amazing. Oh my God, the time always goes so fast. I just want to hang out with you. Okay, so thank you. So these things that I would offer to my daughter and also to my niece, Amy, who's 16 and flying into the world with wings that have got most of their feathers in, but maybe not some. So, you know, I would offer these for her as well. Future leaders. So we've got our instincts, we've got acquiescing to capital R reality, we've got how to say no and to fuck off the good girl. And the next thing that I would like to share with you is connection with nature. When I was out on alone, I was alone, right? I was alone. I never felt alone, ever. Because when I was out there, I describe it as I died and I dissolved and I regrew as part of the interconnected web of life. No more or less important than any bird or bee or tree or fish. Because in nature, there's no hierarchy. There's no life more important than any other. There's no voice more important than any other in nature. In nature, everything pulls on the strands of the web. Every choice has consequences, and those consequences relate directly back to our survival. Now, our culture of disconnection has meant that we don't feel those consequences, but we've become more and more disconnected so we don't feel that web. We live in boxes, we work in boxes, our kids learn to go to a whole bunch of boxes to learn to be in the world of boxes. A big box owns everything anyway. And the only things that get their needs met are the boxes. So it's a radical act to be able to reconnect. And it's hard sometimes, but nature is there, and nature is a battery that is designed to feed us. And so to find our communities, when I was out on alone, there was a point at about day, I don't know, lots. I'm hungry. I'm proper hungry. I've eaten wallaby, I've eaten fish sperm, I've eaten fried worms fried in salt, tastes like bacon. I've eaten lizards, I've eaten grubs. None of these would be what you call gourmet. And I'm getting pretty skinny and pretty hungry, and there's nothing else that exists for me now but this whole thing that I'm doing. And I open up the door one day, it's pissing rain, and there are these 2 wood ducks. Have you seen a wood duck? They're fat and they're like duck. You're in survival and bloody Peking duck is there. I've got the salt and there's a duck. There's 2 of them. They're enormous. Oh my God. And so I'm like, right, I'm going to get me some duck. Now, part of the rules of alone were that you couldn't throw anything. You had to be close enough to donk it on their head, and which meant I had to like sneak up on these ducks. So I tucked my stick behind them so they couldn't see it. Now, the thing is, I am a bird nerd, and when I was a kid, I used to rescue sick and injured birds, and I'd like spit food in their mouth, and the kids would be like, "Oh my God, Gina's kissing birds, ew!" But anyway, so I understand the language of birds. And birds have a contact call when they're relaxed. It's just like, how you doing? I'm fine. What you doing? No, I'm just feeding. What you doing? Yeah, still just feeding. What you doing? What you doing? What you doing? What you doing? Oh, sorry, I had a worm in my mouth. I'm back. And it's a way that they keep track of where their predators are around. So when you know what the contact call is of a bird, you can basically tell them that there's nothing to be afraid of. And wood ducks, it's wah, 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 wah. So I'm sneaking up on these two ducks with this stick behind me, and I'm going wah, 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 wah. And they're like wah, 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 wah. Wah, 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 wah. And I got closer and closer and closer. I'm like, oh my God, Peking duck, this is going to be amazing. And when I was about maybe 1.5 meters away, they were like, yeah, nah. And they just took off going rah, 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 along the lake. That was it. There was my Peking duck. Okay. So I didn't think much else of it, and I went back and, had some more worms and salt. And the next morning, I woke up and I opened the door of my little shelter, and these two little heads went wah, 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 wah. They thought I was some kind of giant weird duck. And they're going, it's raining, come out, the grass is great. And I'm like, oh my God. So I called them Theo and Anastasia. And they became my friends. Now, anyone who's ever grown animals on a farm, you'd never name the ones you're going to eat. So anyway, I named Theo and Anastasia, and we hung out, and every now and then, right, there's a $250,000 prize for a loan, and it's late in the game, and I don't know how long it's going to last, and I've got these ducks that would keep me, they would send me over the finish line, and I couldn't kill them because they're my friends. And there was a point where I'm like, Gina, is that a $250,000 duck? Really? Are you not going to kill this duck? Like, that's $250,000 right there. Like, talk about the golden goose. But I didn't, and thankfully I still won, and Theo and Anastasia sort of flew away and had their lives. But I made friends with them, and I wasn't alone. I made friends with a platypus, and I wrote a whole album worth of songs, and I'd sing and she'd come and hang out, and I made friends with the trees, and I made friends with the clouds and the sunsets and the sunrises. And I learned that when we allow nature to dissolve us and we become part of it, we have endless energy. We have endless resources because we know that we are part of something greater than ourselves. And we tap into the wisdom of our DNA. So whenever we go outside, take off your shoes just for a couple of minutes, or don't take off your shoes, but maybe lean against a tree, or look at a horizon and turn off your phone. And I don't mean leave it on silent, because then all the notifications come in, don't they? Ooh, what's that? Turn it off and give yourself the gift of connecting with nature in the way we are designed to, the way that we are designed to connect, that is nourishing and helps us function in the world. So that is the first part of that. The second part of that is to connect with our communities. The thing about the boxes and the thing about the antidote and us being the antidote, the thing that we do so well is we wind our roots together, don't we? That's what women do. We listen to each other. We make connections. We form connections. If you've ever seen like a mushroom, right? The actual fruit of the mushroom is this teeny tiny little bit of the mushroom, but when you see the mycelial network, it expands under the ground forever. And it's connecting with other mycelial networks. It's connecting with roots. There's an entire communication system that's going on. And we are designed for that, and it's with our communities. I run a program called Rewild Your Child. And on the first day of this camp, we all sit around and we, there's all these people who don't know each other at this camp in the wilderness going, oh my God, there's no alcohol, there's no internet, it's so kumbaya. And I don't know these people. I've got to poo in a wheelie bin and bathe in a river. Why did I come here? They come here for their kids. And on the first night, my ex, who's also my business partner, Leigh, he gets up and he says, for us, a village is a group of people who look after each other, no matter what. Does anyone want to give that a go? Put up your hands if you do. And everyone goes, nee. And there's always a kid who's like, nee. And Leigh's like, did anybody not put up their hands? And the kid's like, and he's like, well, that's fine. You don't have to. But if you can't put up your hand to say that we're going to look after each other, then you're going to have to leave. Because if we can't look after each other, then what are we doing here? And the kid goes, And this thing happens when we make an agreement to look after each other no matter what. When we make a basic agreement of caretaking, everybody feels safe and they don't feel alone. And our groups and our communities are where we get to do this, and we get to look after each other when times are hard. And one day I've got it, and the next day I'm in bits, but you've got it. And I don't have to do it all on my own because we're looking after each other no matter what. And my experience is when we do this, when we find those communities and those connections, then we can stitch ourselves into creating a better world. Because it's the wisdom that we have in our DNA and in our uteruses and our ovaries. And if you don't have a uterus or an ovary, but you identify as female, then you've got it too. It's the wisdom of connection. It's the way we're designed. 350,000 years in our DNA. Disconnection is only a fingernail deep. And as soon as we start scratching that surface and going underground, we find where the connection really is. So there's one way that I know in my bones is the fastest way for a group of people to feel connection, not as an idea, an ideology, or something that you saw some chick talking about on a stage, but actually feel. And that is when we sing together. So if you suddenly went, oh my God, I can't sing, don't make it sing. Oh, no. Fucking audience participation. Fuck, I knew she was going to do this. Damn her. If you think you can't sing or you were told you can't sing, I've got one word for you, and that is bullshit. Do you think the whales go, I'm sorry, Eric? That should have been a B flat. Do you think the wrens go, oh my goodness, Phyllis, you were way sharp on that one? No, they bloody well do not. Is there a cloud that is the wrong shape or goes the wrong way? Is a wave too wavy? Is a tree shaped wrong? No, everything in nature has its own voice and is its own self, and we are grown from nature. We can't be separate from nature. We're grown from nature, and our voices are vital. A village is only healthy if there is room in it for every single voice, if every voice can be heard. And if you identify as female, you are part of an entire swathe, fuck knows, of society that has been told over and over not to have a voice, or it's not safe to have a voice. So when we sing together, we actually get to express ourselves, and in doing this, we stitch ourselves back to life. And we get to express our creativity and our passion and our life force. And guess what? Doesn't matter what you sound like. If you're sharp, if you're flat, that is a bloody colonial construct. Fuck it. Your voice is your voice, and it's important. So, if I offer you a chance to sing together, do you want to have a crack? Yes. Oh, come on. Do you want to have a crack? Yes. All right. So this is a song that came through my bones at one of these camps. And I feel like it's really pertinent. Oh my God, people are always fleeing. Like, it'll be great. I promise you, it'll be great. No one's going to notice. This is how deeply it can run, right? And so I really acknowledge the discomfort, and I promise you this is going to sound amazing, and you're going to feel fabulous at the end, I promise you. All right. All right. So I'm going to sing, and you're going to sing back to me, okay? And the words are, I found a feather, and she sang to me. Softly, softly, through a waking dream, I grew wings and flew out to the sea. Wind, 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 carry me. And you're going to know them all, don't worry, it'll get there. All right. I found a feather and she sang to me. I found a feather and she sang to me. Beautiful. Softly, softly through a waking dream. Softly, softly through a waking dream. I grew wings and flew out to the sea. I grew wings and flew out to the sea. Wind, 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 carry me. 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 Okay, that was it. How beautiful does that sound? Right. All right, darlings, I'm out of time because I always go over, so we're going to just crack on. Okay, let's actually do this enough times so that you get it. And then you can sing it like you mean it. Rather than going, oh my God, they're looking at me. Okay. I'm going to call and response again. I found a feather and she sang to me. Softly, softly through a waking dream. Softly, softly through a waking dream. I grew wings and flew out to the sea. I grew wings and flew out to the sea. Wind, 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 carry me. Wind, 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 carry me. All right, we're beautiful. We're going to roll it around and keep it going, okay? But I'm not call and answer anymore. We're just going to sing it a few times through. And if you don't know the words, just go, okay. All right. I found a feather and she sang to me. Softly, softly through a waking dream. I grew wings and flew out to the sea. Wind, 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 carry me. Wind, 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 carry me. Beautiful. Now please stand. Please stand. All right. Don't worry about talking. We're going to be singing. Okay. So, now, that's beautiful, but I feel like a lot of you would feel like you're going to the dentist. So I'm going to invite you to move through the discomfort or the part of you that thinks you can't sing or whatever the fuck that is, to know that your voice is important and necessary and needs to be heard. And sing like your life depends on it. Sing like sing like you've had a few shardies and you're at home and you're just singing around in your undies. Okay, shall we have a crack? All right, let's go. I found a feather and she sang to me. Softly, softly through a waking dream. I grew wings and flew out to the sea. Wind, 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 carry me. Wind, 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 carry me. I found a feather and she sang to me. Softly, softly through a waking dream. I grew wings and flew out to the sea. Wind, 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 carry me. Wind, 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 carry. Bigger. Waking dream, I grew wings and flew out to the sea. Wind, 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 carry me. Wind, 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 carry me. Oh, and that is the sound of connection. How do you feel? How do you feel? How do you feel? Amazing. Well, thank you so much for going through with me through this crazy dance. So I wrote a book. So I wrote a book. There's a QR code for, oh my God, Jesus, I'm giant. Oh my God, there's words up there as well. Shit, okay. So I wrote a book. Now, if you want it, great for Christmas presents, great for birthday presents, great for presents. It's not about alone. It's about everything that's happened in my life and all of the lessons and all the stuff we've just talked about and 400 pages more. And it's available down in the box office. But if you do want to, I am going to be not just signing these in the upstairs thing over here. You get a Post-it note. And on that Post-it note, you write your name and one thing, one word, not an essay please, one word of one thing that brings you joy and lights you up and makes you just go, hee. And don't worry about censoring it. Oh, I'm sorry, it's my kids. Great, it's your kids. Well, it's not very exciting. Fucking who cares? It's yours. One word of one thing that brings you joy, and then I will write you a poem in the front of your book about that thing for you. Now, I didn't say it was going to be a great poem. I just went and saw David White and he bought my book and I was like, oh shit. Ooh. So yeah, but I will write you something from my heart in this moment about this thing for you when I look you in your eyes and I say your name. And because for me, connection is not just a theory or a concept or a word that I say to get likes on Instagram. I don't give a fuck. Connection for me is our way through. It is the antidote. And so if you do want me to write you a little thing in the front of your book, then that is from my heart to yours. And I will not leave until everyone who wants one gets it. So thank you so much. And I wish you well as you sail out into the world. And I hope there was something in my little chat that landed for you. And all my love. All my love. Yeah. You're amazing. Yeah. Oh, my Lordy. Oh, fuck me. Thank you. Thank you. And the thing that I keep saying is this actually isn't about me. It's about that hole in the zeitgeist, that story of connection that is resonant in all of your bones. I'm just the bit of you that's on the outside that's a little bit, probably a bit more extreme. But this is your story as well. So thank you for sharing this time with me, and I'll see you out there, and all my love. And thanks for having me, Opera House and All About Women.